71. As you know, yeah, I know it's a lot. I can't wait till it gets to 500 and something. I think for 500 we have to do something. So tonight's show, this is Speak Up Monday, Destination Indonesia, is about a dear brother who I've known for some years, who has made an incredible contribution to this Bali community, being that he's been here for 20 years plus, and his beautiful wife, originally from Japan. And one of their projects, Tuluvi Art House, that we're going to talk about, Art Center, a little bit tonight. We're going to talk about also about how over these years, managing from the US originally, how you can begin to not become part of, but I guess connect these different aspects of Balinese culture into projects that do a lot of good for a lot of people. All right, so that's what tonight's episode is about. My name is Robert Ian Bonnick, otherwise known as a gateway to Indonesia for foreign companies that want to enter. So think about this. You've come in, you set up your company, but then what comes next? How do you actually get into business? Here in the front view over there, right here, right? How do you actually plug into business within 10 different market sectors and stay there and create a successful business? It's about connections, it's about feasibility, and it's about understanding how the land works. That's what we do. And if you're an Indonesian company based here in Indonesia, we do. And if you're an Indonesian company based here in Indonesia, how do you grow within Indonesia? Being that you have, over, being that you have 7 languages and so on. So it's a massive, massive island with the average age of 27 of almost 300 million people. So into this Bali is. Now Bali, as many of you know, is one of those islands of those 17,500 plus. And when it comes to GDP, Bali contributes less than 3% of GDP of this great nation. But when it comes to tourism, yep, sit right there, my brother. But when it comes to tourism, it contributes. Now, good catch. When it comes to tourism,
I am the light.
Welcome, my brother. When it comes to tourism, just a light fell on our guest, but they're soft lights. It's okay. And you know what?
I am the
he
light,
didn't even
man.
flinch. Light means
I have protection.
I know. Light means light, and it's just was very soft and gentle. So yeah. So basically, this island contributes more than 70% of tourism for the entire nation. This is why it's a gateway to Indonesia. So when we talk about Bali and the spiritual elixir, when it comes to these cultures that I mentioned already, it's a very special place. So I guess with the backdrop for that, Kamau, 20 years ago, you came to Bali. I guess maybe the first question that people might want to know is, where are you coming from and why did you choose Bali, or why did Bali choose you?
The latter. Originally born and raised in San Francisco, California, Oakland, California also, both sides. And long story, which I will make short, essentially, it was a very not chance meeting with a clairvoyant woman who just approached me in a bookstore in San Francisco and was like, you got some really strong spirit guides around you. They're telling me to talk to you. There's some stuff to communicate. And she didn't charge me any money, didn't ask for any money. She just said, let's talk. And so not that day, but we met up the next day, spoke about a lot of different things. And she said, you're going to come into some money soon and do a lot of traveling. And she mentioned Australia. She didn't mention Bali or Indonesia. She mentioned Australia. So again, long story short, I ended up wanting to go to Thailand before Australia when I came into that money that she predicted. Agent that I was dealing with said I had a free stop between Thailand and Sydney, which where I was going to. And so did a little search, saw a website talking about Bali. It looked beautiful. I was like, all right, I'll go check it out. So it ended up resonating with me on that trip. It really, really stuck with me. When I got back home, I came back 2 months later. On the second trip, I met a bunch of kids on the beach who were like super young, but really breaking. And there was a radio truck out, and somebody, a local Indonesian cat was on the mic doing some rapping. They had a DJ. I was like, oh, they rocking like that out here. And that was 2003. So yeah, that question we were talking about before, right? That was 2003. So I was like, oh, cool. So I met them, hung out with them, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna come back at some point. not at all thinking about to stay. But like, I'm gonna come back, and next time I come back, I'll bring some documentaries you can watch. I can, bring some knowledge, some music, just because they're expressing the culture, hip hop culture, which I grew up in. And so a year later, I came back with the intent to stay for 5 months, because at the time I was really active in the spoken word scene in America, and I ended up getting connected with a tour that actually went through Asia to share spoken word and the connection between art and activism. And so I ended up coming back here, like I want to stay and soak up a place versus quick stops. I came for 5 months, and had a whole paradigm shift in terms of what was possible with just living. Not even, I wasn't thinking I wasn't thinking at all about business or anything. Just how do you live as a human being on this planet? And so when I went back to San Francisco, just yeah, it was not the same. 2 weeks later, I came back and just didn't go back. And so when I went back to San Francisco, just back and just didn't go back for like 5 years.
Story, but what I want to punctuate it a second. Art and activism, right? Is what you just said. Why is that important to you? Art and activism. Where's the thread? If I tug on something, it gets to the root, and the root pulls out, and it goes everywhere. What would one of those roots be? Why is art and activism important?
Well, the roots would be the meridian lines that connect the heart to the pulse of a community, right? The artists are the pulse of the community. It's not the politicians don't express the heart of the community. The artists who express the heart. And so they are inherently intertwined. So whenever there's a situation that is happening to a community, it's the artists that are going to be the first people to speak to it historically, right? And so for me, coming from where I come from, there's a lot of issues. And so was very active and particularly at that point in time, this was like Bush Jr., Iraq War, this whole time. So there was a lot of opportunity to speak out, and a lot of people were speaking out. And so I come from a very strong arts community. My mother was in the arts, so that got passed into me. And as I got mature in my expression, it was just natural for me to contribute in that way to what was taking place. So yeah, the artists, whenever something is going wrong and governments want control over people, the first thing they go after is the artists. They gotta shut up the artists. And so for us, it was very important to teach people how to move deeper into their artistry and share it. And so that's where they connect.
A little bit more for those of you who don't know. So for over 2 decades, 20 years, Kamau Abayomi has been a creative force on the island of Bali and beyond, blending art, music, poetry, and spirit to bridge cultures and ignite transformation. So he is known as the Godfather of Bali HipHop, which is what he was referring to before, and the island's pioneering poetry voice. So Kamau was also Canggu's, where we are now, Canggu with all the bikes going by, busy day and all that stuff. He was Canggu's first resident DJ at Deus Ex Machina and a founding DJ of the influential Disko Afrika movement that many people here kind of know. I see a few smiles around the room when I hear Disko Afrika, like, these girls have just arrived. He'll tell you after about Disko Afrika, and I'm sure you're going to be there every single party. And his journey is one of soulful leadership, cultural exchange, and radically creative, rooted in love for the island and the power of brothers to transcend. Now, I guess there's a few things which are important about tonight's episode. So, founder of Tuluvi Art House, a sacred space for cultural fusion, ancestral wisdom, and spiritual creativity. And there's a GoFundMe campaign, basically Indiegogo campaign going on right now, a crowdfunding campaign we're going to talk about. And as we mentioned as well, calling on the community to help preserve Tuluvi Art House, a sanctuary for artistic and spiritual expression in Bali. And his vision is to protect and grow this intimate space through a community-driven crowdfunding campaign I've just mentioned, ensuring it continues to inspire and transform lives. Now, there's a few little questions I want to get started with, but I want to go back to your story because I interrupted you before. So you came from the US during a time where there's a lot of activity going on. In your parents, well, your mum, you mentioned especially, had this awareness of culture and art and why it's important to express, and the fact that art and culture throughout the world. I used to work in clubs for a long time, so music expresses so much from society, what's going on, what's happening in the UK, way back in time. So it's very important. And what you were saying was that by a few Bali moments, let's put it like that, you end up uniting with that hip hop community, Balinese style, and then through seeing through the eyes of the locals, you began to see maybe a different view, and then that's kind of one that began, I guess, kind of work its way from head to heart, right? There's a feeling there, and then maybe now's a good time. So Tuluvi Art House, where does that? I mean, I have a feeling I know where, but I think it's nice for people to understand, like what is it firstly, and why is it important?
Sure. So there's a progression towards that. Um, and it's prior stages of expression within creations. I've created over, I don't know, in my time here, I've probably done about 150 to 200 events, and I've had other names that I would put on top. The one right before Tuluvi Arts was double entendre, live mysteries, live mysteries. And so, but even before that, when I arrived and I didn't have any particular name, working with the local hip hop community here as a mentor, and it wasn't necessarily it's hip hop. It wasn't like Balinese hip hop. They just happened to be from Bali expressing hip hop, and that was a connection with like, oh, y'all feel connected to the culture I grew up in and where I come from, but y'all have a connection to this. So there's a bridge here. So in that process, then it becomes cultural exchange, right? Because there are just things that being from here that they didn't understand about the culture of hip hop. I was able to impart to them properly. They were getting whatever was coming in through the media. So you watch MTV, who was hot at the time, Eminem or whatever like that. You watch MTV, who was hot at the time, Eminem or whatever like roots and the essence of what the an expression that is deeper than just the monetary commercial aspect, right? And so, in that progression, it's a guidance into because say this at the time when I arrived here, the only dancing that I saw was either traditional dancing or women dancing on bars. That's it. Go out then, none of this was here. This is all rice paddies. Oh no, all this was rice paddies. Even Deus had just rice paddies. Everybody went out in Kuta, right? And then if you were a little bit more, then you went out in Seminyak. But if you wanted to get down, you were going out in Kuta. And so there was only one hip hop club. It had literally just opened when I got here. And so I would only see traditional dancers or girls dancing on bars. And then because the B-boys were getting into it, but they were into that Kuta lifestyle. So it's like, oh yeah, I break, but I also go get drunk and I go run on the beach and go chase girls, and there's no focus there. And so what I was like, if y'all really love this and y'all want to continue with this, then you have to dedicate your time and away from all the distractions to go into your zone in order to progress it. And so giving them a vision of what's possible. It doesn't have to be just a fun, yeah, look, I'm cool type of thing, and an option. And so same with the girls. So the first crew. So I worked with a crew called Aerial Crew, which you can YouTube and see all the old stuff. And it was 12 boys and one girl, and a bunch of girlfriends. So the girlfriends would be hanging out at practice, and I'd be like, look, if y'all gonna hang out here, y'all gotta dance. So and that they like dance. They were into hip hop, but they weren't dancing. They were just in the background while the boys was practicing. So I was like, y'all gotta dance. So I formed the first hip hop girls group here and started doing choreography, put them in shows. We started booking them around these different things to show, okay, you can do this and give another aspect of expression for yourself. And at that, again, this is 2003. As it went forward, fast forward to like 2008, when we were doing hip hop show, there was like maybe I don't know, 15 different girl hip hop groups after that, right? So again, this is long story, lots of history, but the progression was from the okay, you have an interest to express yourself outside the binds of what you've been taught, and moving deeper into that and finding a way to not only express yourself, but eventually get to the point of you're making money to feed your family, right? So, because this is where it progressed to. They got so good at what they were doing when dance got big in Indonesia. It was like all these step-up movies started coming. I don't know if y'all remember that. All these dance movies. So dance got really popular.
Oh, just don't want to. Everyone remember Step Up movie? Raise your hand. Just let me know. You guys are old. I'm joking. You're not. You're young. You're young. You're young. Old people in this audience tonight. I don't remember Step Up.
Yeah, so all of that.
Step Up 3.
So y'all know. So all those movies were popping. There was like Step Up. There was all these are Bring It On. There was all these dance movies that was popping, right? So of course it was coming out here to Indonesia, and then it started bubbling because now people want to learn, and I'm the only one who's qualified to teach it. So I was teaching everybody hip hop dance here, from the locals to the expat kids. I was teaching at Green School. I was teaching on the street. I was teaching where else? What was that? What's Canggu?
Canggu Community
School. Canggu Community School. I was teaching there. We were doing work. We were doing everything. So it got big, and so because I was working with this crew first, they were getting the proper foundation to do it properly. So they were winning all these different competitions all over Indonesia. We would go to Papua, we would go to Surabaya, go to Jogja, go to Jakarta, and just killing everybody.
You know when you think you know someone, and then you sit down with them and you ask one question, and you realize how little you know about them. Happening right now. Just so you're aware, okay?
So because of that connection with them, I was traveling Indonesia, learning about Indonesian culture, at the same time fully expressing the culture I grew up in, making these connections. So that progressed into, because not only just with them, but then just I'm an artist as a full, from writing to collaborative events, all these different things. So I would do these events where it'd be like, all right, we'll have a photographer, we'll have a band, we'll have the breaking crew, we'll have rapping, we'll have poetry, we have all that and mash it into it. And then again, this is 2008, 2009, where we were doing a smaller community here, and we were doing these type of eclectic events. So at that point, I called what I productions live mysteries, live mystery. All right, to get to Tuluvi, sorry, I had to give a little bit of a backstory.
That was a backstory, man. but it was cool though, right? I enjoyed it. That was good.
All right, and excuse me, I'll try to slow down. I know I'm talking a little bit fast because I'm trying to get a lot of in the limited time.
Someone saying
hip-hop don't stop, bro. Tell me I was 8 years old.
The whole interview is a wrap from start to finish, right? Okay, thank you, Max. Appreciate you, brother.
Cool. All right, so at the time, I'm living down here. I'm living in Seminyak. I'm living in Kerobokan, kind of going back and forth. I had a couple stints where eventually, like, they had a second bombing that happened in Indonesia. I was here. I was actually DJing on the beach, on the upper side of Kuta Beach, from where the bombing happened, which was down more central Kuta area. And I was literally playing, and all the staff went out onto the street. I'm playing, they're all coming back in. I'm like, "What's up?" They're like, "Oh, bomb." Oh shit. Afterwards, went home and turned on the TV, and it was just chaos. It was crazy. So I was here at that time. And right after that, there was no work for DJs, so I ended up getting a job in a band, and I moved to Jakarta for about 3 months, playing in a band, not playing an instrument, but doing vocals, rapping, essentially freestyling, getting paid like to freestyle 6 nights a week. It was pretty cool. Staying in 5-star hotels when flat screens just came out. Yeah, we going back. But and so coming back here. Then eventually I would move up to Ubud. Right after the crew that I was working with, they won the first championships for b-boying, for breaking in Indonesia. So now we have, after this big blow up of dance in Indonesia, you have crews all over the country, from Sumatra all the way to Papua, just crews everywhere. And so there's the circuit, just like any other competition, national, at all the different city and regional competitions, and there would be a culmination in Jakarta, of which my crew won the first one. So after that, I was like, job done. All right, I got other stuff I want to do. That's when I moved to start focus. Still coming down, still doing the work, but giving now more attention to other things, which is more my own personal development work. And so bringing it forward to how Tuluvi comes, which is also, I mean, I could do an interview on every section of the story, but for sake of time, Tuluvi came out of an initiatory period of meditation. So I did 21 days of meditation. And in this meditation,
back to back.
citations of a mantra. So I had to do, and it was something imparted to me by someone who I highly respect. It was like, okay, this is what you have to do, and this is a process. And so every day, 2,000 chants of a specific mantra. After the conclusion of a 28-day cycle, total of 57,000 chants, I was in the spirit of chanting, so I kept it going. And the very next round, as I'm doing these chants, the tone just went up to no volition of mine, just two, Lu, and V. And I kept repeating two, Lu, V, two, V, two, V. And I'm like, what's that? I had no idea, but I'm just going with it. So afterwards, I get on Google, what is Tuluvi? Nothing come up. All right, I have my tools. I've been in the spiritual path for a while. So I've been practicing divination with the I Ching, which is a Chinese divination oracle system, for about 20 years, 25 years now. And so consulted the I Ching, Lu V, and the counsel that came back up was family, ancestral family. So Tuluvi doesn't have any direct definition. It's a vibration, a tone that is simultaneously grounding and integrating, yet cosmic and astral and other dimensional. So it's the bridge of these worlds. And this is what Tuluvi is representing. At its core, if you were to give it a definition like Nana's given a good one, she said it's the roots of creativity. She said, bring it to earth, roots of creativity. Even though it's not rooted in earth, it's coming to earth, anchoring in a frequency. So that's.
So look, then now I'm going to have to give him a caveat. Otherwise, this is going to be a long interview, which is cool. So okay, so three or four things. So describe what Tuluvi is, right? Why is that important now? Kind of answered as well, saying, well, it is creativity, basically the roots, the fruits of what society is feeling around the world, wherever you are. So what I'm maybe going a bit too far. So pull me back if you need to. It's about creativity, right?
So it's creativity inseparable from spiritual development and growth. None of us are disconnected from the grand creative process of life. None of us at any point. Even in our lowest of lows, we are still connected with that creative process. And so Tuluvi is that total union of spirit and creative process. And it's not always like literal, where you're picking up a pen and you're writing a poem, or you're turning on music, or you're grabbing an instrument, or you're on the dance floor. It's not always like that. The moment you wake up, you're part of a creative process. The moment you decide to put on your clothes, you're in a creative process. You step out your door, you're part of a creative process, right? You sit down, go to the beach. All of this is part of the creative process, which is bringing a future form into manifestation. And so Tuluvi is saying, okay, I'm tuning into this connection, which is simultaneously ancient, but very much future, and bringing it into the now. And what does that now want to express in this moment, and being true and honest to that, and allow it to come forward.
So then for the person maybe who's watching this Q&A, right?
Sure.
They never heard of Tuluvi, they like your vibe, they like where you're coming from, they like how you speak and so on, right? So how does it work on a basic level? So again, with this one, no too much detail needed, but a basic level. So it's somewhere where you say, hey, I go, I stay there, I pay to get in, I go in and out. There's organized courses, classes. I can see online somewhere tomorrow is making X, Y, and Z. I'm going to go to that class. Is it a drop-in, or how is it formed?
So now we're talking about Tuluvi Art House. So we just went through just the principle of Tuluvi, which is the total union of spirit and creation. So now, as a space, as a community space where we've already been cultivating for 4 years. So we've been inviting local artists who live here, Indonesian, Balinese, also people who are expats who live here, who are artists from wherever, to come into a space to bring intercultural ceremonies. So we were doing this event called Living Mantra, where we have Sundanese musicians, where we have a whole ceremony where there's Balinese chanting, there's Sufi chants, Islamic chants, Buddhist chants, African chants, all in one ceremony, being expressed through dance, through music, vibrations, through lighting, through in a very intimate space. So Tuluvi Art House is an intimate space where you can be directly engaged with the processes of creativity development. So there's that's the performance aspect or the ceremonial performance aspect. And then there's workshops. I teach Qigong. I've been practicing for 15 years, teaching for the last 8, and teaching workshops from the house, right? Nana, she teaches somatic yoga therapy, body work, neo-traditional Japanese dance. She's very like that element of traditional Japanese, but she's very future also. So teaching these different aspects, having mini retreats. We're a small space. We don't have 1,000 people coming in, but people who do come, they feel at home because the vibe that we're cultivated. So just imagine for a second, like so many different videos. Like, okay, I want to come to Bali. I want to, get into my personal development. I want to change my life in a way where I can go back to wherever I came from, feeling refreshed, feeling new, having a new vision. So you go into a spot and there's 60 other people and they're also doing the same thing. It's a little bit hard to kind of really tune in when you have 60 other energies in your space. So what we envision and what we have cultivated and seek to continue cultivating is that intimate space where you can really tune in, where you can really learn about what's happening within yourself and connect with the person who's guiding you in that process. Whether it's myself, Nana, other practitioners who come to the house, do things, and there's an intimate feeling. So when you leave, you didn't just like I learned something; you actually made a connection.
Got it. Okay. So I get the multidisciplinary activity to it, also multidimensionality to it as well. And like so now is a even more simple basic question. How do people interact with it? Do they find something online and say, I'm gonna go there? Is there something to pay? How does it work?
Well, we've been operating on a lot of donation-based offerings, as well as ticketed offerings for certain performance presentations. We're very much about paying artists, right? Not like just doing stuff and we're trying to grab all of the money. No, we're about whoever comes in should feel just as liberated and feel just as elevated as the people who have witnessed or participated in who they share their arts with. So people can access the space we have. We have our Instagram is primary because that's where we're at right now. Where we share the offerings, so you can definitely access there and see what's coming up, what classes are being done.
What's the handle on Instagram?
Tuluvi Arts.
Spell it.
TULUVI Arts, ARTS. There's that. Myself personally, I have also Instagram. I also have a website, KamauAbayomi.com, where also I have a page on the site that talks about arts more in depth, along with the vision and where we want to go. That is, it goes in.
But now, what I love to do is to keep people in tune, right? So, in a moment, if you have any questions, there's a mic over here that some of you have spoken on already. So if you have a question, just raise your hand, right? Yeah, of course you do, Davide. Bravo. Guzman, we grab that mic and pass it to Davide. Yeah. All right. Thanks for getting us started, Davide. So just before you speak, so the way we do questions here, so we keep the value flowing, is you can say your name, you can say your company, like a short preamble, and then get to your question. That way we can fit more questions in. Over to you, brother. Aspetta. Yeah, go now.
Good. Hi, my name is Davide. I'm Italian, and I appreciate this interview. So thank you, Robert, for covering such wide variety of topics. Nice to meet you, Mr. Abayomi. I like what you said about the process of creativity is from the moment you wake up, the moment you dress yourself or you go to the beach. Now, you also said that there were rice fields all around here. I find it easier to, let's say, have some connection with creativity when there is less noise, less traffic. You have seen Bali changing so much. If you were to give me a tip to be in touch with the creative process. Even when I see a Porsche riding by Canggu, I've seen it. And I've got nothing against people with money and Porsches, but it looks like a different place. So how did you keep your connection, creativity, in spite of such big changes? A lot of people like you would have left by now, but you stayed. So what made you stay? What tip could you give me to keep the connection going, even when somebody cuts me off in traffic, or it's not the Bali it used to be 10 years ago?
Sure. Good question. Thank you. Oh, couple things. The part that everything is a part of the creative process. So like when I first arrived here and I got on the motorbike, you know, everybody goes, and at first I was like, whoa, okay. Then you get the hang of it. And then you get into the traffic, and the traffic is like, oh, damn, what? And exhaust and all these things. So how my creative process worked to deal with that was to turn it all into a video game. Like literally. All right. So if I'm stuck behind a bus and it's just like, oh, I'm losing points, I'm like, I got to get my points are going. I'm going. And I made it a game for myself. That's how I, got through this. That's a very small thing. In terms of seeing things that are, you can say, in conflict with the original essence of the island and being a natural island, for me, these are things that I write about. Not that I have to share it, but I get that process out creatively. Right? So I have many, many notebooks full of things that nobody's ever heard. Many, many, many. Should I exit this earth? If I go before her, she'll make a lot of money. But writing everything, right? Seeing the Ferrari, like, okay, damn, what's that juxtaposition of a Ferrari trying to mash down this little lane right here with 1,000 motorbikes? That's art, actually. Because life, especially on this island, deals with Polang. It's the light and the dark, right? This island's always dealt with light and the dark. Whenever you see that checkered sarong around the different temples and offerings, that's light and the dark. They honor both of those. So that aspect of the Ferrari has been invited in energy. That's part of it too. So being able to see that and allowing that to spawn some type of creative force. Now, I don't know exactly what your field is for creativity, like what you're naturally drawn to. It might be writing, it might be dancing, maybe you play music, but to tune into that vibe and think about that situation and how it felt and allow it to come out. That's one way to deal with it, right? Another way, in terms of just your personal keeping yourself balanced and centered, get the hell out of here. There's an island that we're on. We tend to think that Bali is Canggu, Ubud, Uluwatu, and that's Bali. Nah, there's still Tuluvi, there's still, Lake Baratan. There's all kinds of areas you can go to where you don't see all of this and just really making the time to get up there. It's not far. It's an hour drive, hour and a half drive at most, and you can recharge. I always say this to people, right? Every single person who has decided to make the time to spend in Bali has their temple and they have their tree. If you find your temple and you find your tree, you will always be able to recharge yourself. I have a tree. It's up near Lake Baratan. I can drive an hour all the way up there, spend 10 minutes with my hand on that tree, come back fully charged and cleansed of all the bullshit I might. So everybody has that somewhere, and you just have to go and find it.
Great question. Yes, over here, so Brother Guzman. This microphone over to our sister Carol. Yeah. Thanks for getting us started, Davide.
I love what you said about the shadow and the light, the darkness and the light. And I would like, if it's possible, are you open to actually explain how you came that money?
How I came to the what?
To get money to come here.
Oh.
And actually deal about the shadow and the light when it comes to that.
Sure.
Thanks.
So I give love and honor to my father, who came to me in my dreamscape last night. After years I hadn't connected in that realm, but he came last night. It was due to his passing. So he had money saved up, which transferred over to me, which allowed me to travel. And I wasn't even thinking about outside. I didn't have a passport. I was doing fine inside of America, but I wasn't even thinking outside. And yeah, his transition, the money that he had left over went over to me, which was like, all right, well, I'm going to go explore and see what the world has to offer. That's how it happened.
And how did you handle that grief?
Through poetry. Yeah, as well as an understanding that we are more than our physical bodies. So around the time of his transition, I was actually having a lot of out of body experiences, which eventually led me going to the Monroe Institute to study about out of body travel and what that's really about and the whole process of it. And we, with 100%, we will transition and continue our journey. There's no this is it and we're done. No. So that was confirmation for me that it was all good. I had ceremonies. I saw him right after the ceremony in that realm, and then he was in his old best looking self, a young man, and showed up. Was like, I'm good, pretty much, and then it was all good for me.
Then my last question. We talk about creativity. What would you say to young men who are so obsessed with creating their business, with working and working and working, and who don't take any time to actually indulge and explore any kind of creative aspect of themselves because they don't necessarily understand that they are more than the guy who is trying to make money?
Sure. And just before you answer that question, so Carol, you just came a little bit later. So this gentleman here with the white top who's recording. Oh, you know each other already. Beautiful. Okay, I was in the same field. Wonderful. Back to you.
Yeah. So I'm very much a person that recommends that people just look at history and listen to other people who are successful, what they say about going from rags to riches, so to speak, and having everything that they thought was going to make them complete and whole and realizing that that wasn't it. Right? It's not that. And so for young men who are just like money, grind, hustle, get it, boom, boom, turn up, get the bag, all of that, they have to experience themselves outside of that context, right? And so if a person is like in Bali, we do have that archetype here, many people in that. Again, I come back to what I was just saying. You know, the original, let me go back to prior to Canggu, people didn't come here to make money 10 years ago. 10 years ago, people started coming. 15 years ago, people didn't come to make money. They came to get away from people who were chasing and they loved that there was a spirit flowing through this land which amplified who they were as a human being. This island, even regardless of what you do, Bali is going to amplify who you are as a human being and say, hey, this is who you are. What direction do you want to go? Okay, you want to go this direction and chase this lifestyle? Okay. And you're going to take it to its extreme. You're going to be on the side, likely on the side of the road at some point, and have to really adjust yourself to sit down, shut the hell up, and tune yourself inward. So that's the hard path to do it. The other way is to say, hey, here's the mirror. Check it out. There's this great meditation over here. There's this great brother named Robert over here. There's a great poet named Carol over here. You need to connect with them if you want to go out of that trajectory that you're on that's going to lead to burnout, going to lead to health issues, even if you have money. So what do you want? You want the money and the burnout and all that stuff? Or would you rather be at peace, have your inner wealth, and then get that anyway?
You know, one of the questions leading off from where Carol finished is, yeah, I mean, this is, you know, about World Bridger, basically combining, bridging, bringing together cultures in Bali for 20 years. So lots of people coming to Bali. I mean, tourism numbers are set to skyrocket again, 7, 8, 9 million. You know, people, when you ask people, check this one out actually, as we're all friends now here. So relax, take one quick breath. So just breathe in and breathe out. Close your eyes, everyone. When you think of Bali, which 1, 2, or 3 images come into your mind? And just speak them now. So Agong is one. The ocean, rice paddy, Pasuk Beach, rice paddies, temple, woman with the red dress. He's in Matrix. landing space, nature, offerings, yoga studio, nature, catch up dance. Yeah, catch up dance. Okay. Cliffs, ocean. Carol, what comes up for you? All right. So here's the thing, right? So we didn't practice any of that, right? Clearly, you can see it, right? But what you find is that, you know, a friend told me this the other day when he's doing branding exercise with whatever it might be. Close your eyes, take a breath, relax. Close your eyes. You give them a name, and then you ask them which images come up in your mind first. Then your campaign basically uses those images because it's not just you. So when you bring everything together, what everyone has said, it's been nature, it's been culture, it's been pretty much, apart from the woman with the red dress, he's still in Matrix. At least it was the last one. By the way, that's a friend of mine who played the actress, Danny Swan. She's an old friend. She's coming back to Bali soon. I'll introduce you. So the point I'm trying to make, though, is that for most people, what they do understand is that they come to Bali not necessarily because of the beauty, and it is beautiful, but there are more beautiful beaches if we're going to look at beaches, right? Just being honest, right? But the thing that cannot be underestimated is the culture, the rice paddies, the temples, the ceremony, the dance, right? The mountains. So these things kind of tap strongly into the culture of what makes Bali so unique, and one reason why it has. I mean, it's been tourism destination. It's been the most Googled destination, top 3 for the last 15 years, right? And there's more stats I can give you. So the question then to you, Kamau, right? Being that you've been here for a bit of time, and you've been able to unite these cultures, explore these cultures, not only in Bali but throughout Indonesia, through dance and all the activities that you're doing. So if someone, going back to Davide's question earlier on, the 2 types of question. One question is, if I just arrive in Bali, what are the most likely mistakes I'll make when it comes to trying to integrate with the culture? That's the first, right? The second one is, if I've been here for a while and I have a business, what is the strongest mistake that I'm likely to make when I'm trying my best to try to integrate within the culture? Yeah. So what would you answer to those 2 questions?
Okay. The first mistake in relationship to trying to integrate with the person, the culture, if you're first arriving in Bali. Thinking Balinese are dumb. That they're like some just meek, and don't be fooled by the smiles. The smiles are genuine, but they have a power that is emanating and causing that smile to come. They already have community. If we're trying to integrate into theirs, it's saying we don't. And so you have to always be respectful of that at all times. A person has to say, okay, I'm stepping into a space that has all aspects of its community intact and has had it intact for hundreds of years, right? I am a visitor. I'm coming from a place, I have all kinds of things. I step into the space with a willingness to learn, not to impose, but to learn and to share. Because the Balinese want to learn about you. They're totally open. Where are you from? That's why, where are you from? What's happening? What are you doing? They may not know everything about your culture. They may have stereotypes about it. And here's where the exchange happens. You can dispel any myths about where you're from. And then at the same time, you can learn about how they get down. Not from a service standpoint, but from a community standpoint.
The second question was for maybe a person who's been here for a while, right? Maybe they have a business here already. Maybe they think they know how Bali works, right? But what is the main mistake that you've seen that people in that kind of area of time that they've been in Bali, have established themselves to a certain extent, what is the biggest mistake they're likely to make?
Yeah, this is the easy one of what can I get? They come at it from what can I get, not what can I give. This is an island of offerings, right? Offerings everywhere. First time I've ever been to a mall in a place and there's a temple in it, and people are praying. No. So, offerings to something greater is the foundation of this place. And so, to try to establish a business on a land that operates from that standpoint, you have to be understanding of that. Otherwise, you're going to have conflicts and problems at some point. Now, again, we're dealing with light and dark energies. So there are dark forces that'll say, oh, look at this taker. Okay, I can get energy from that taker, right? And cause problems. And if you have an understanding of the principles of offering, then you're less likely to have all of these setbacks. And the island will open up and say, oh, this person respects the actual natural flow of the place. And then the pathway can be made.
Principles of offerings. If you can take a bit of time to explain what they are, because I think that's very important to what you just said.
Oh, it's very simple. It's what can I contribute to the place that I'm at? It's very simple. If I go into we talk about a community like a house. If I go into a compound, what am I contributing to it? Since they don't know skill sets, there may not be an opportunity to showcase a skill set, but you can showcase and offer the heart. If I'm in the heart, I offer the heart. So take that. If I go into, if I'm invited to a ceremony, there was invitations happened more back in the day. Now it's a bit mixed up and messed up. But back in the day, Balinese would always offer people, come to my house, come to my ceremony. They would offer that all the time, right? So there was always this kind of this reciprocity of giving and receiving that was taking place. So now, because so many people have come in to exploit, that connection has been kind of brought down a lot, right? So there's not as much invitations, which means for a person who wants to go more and connect more, whether it's for business or just social, you have to extend first. You have to make the initiative, right, to do it.
You know, two sisters from London. So this is not directed at you, but you're sitting there. It just makes me smile to think about it. I don't remember which interview it was or who it was, and it was one of those ones where it was, you know, in a certain sense, right, to what he just said. You know, the West, where we're from, is about me, and the East, where we currently sit and reside, is about we. So they're two letters, but the result is dramatically different. And the response and the thought and the emotion and the pre-work that goes into saying those words is huge. Me and we. So when I hear him, you know, refer to why or what can you contribute, I think that that's a really powerful statement that cannot be underestimated.
I want to, and I would say this to people, I've said it to many, many people, because we got to eat, we got to pay bills. This is understandable. So, all right, we got to have a means of making money. But along with that, what is it that I'm giving purely from the heart with no intent to get something back from it? Not going to be done and then all of a sudden boost my ego by posting it. What are you doing that nobody knows about? That is pure offering. So to have that, along with a socially conscious business ethic, not an exploitative one that is beneficial to the community, having those in conjunction is the offering. You can have reciprocity from your offering. That's not to do that, but it's coming from here, not from what can I do? Coming from.
You know, I'm looking at my my brother Andrea, right? Again, you know, one of the leaders of the largest communities in the world, right? Startup Grind. And you know, if I asked you, putting the foot on the other, the shoe on the other foot, You know, when you hear about that aspect of contribution, and we have the microphone. Yeah, I think it's just there, right? Putting you on the spot because this is how we roll. How does that play out for you in what you do?
Well, how did we become the largest community in the world? So we believe in give first, don't take. Help others before you make friends, not contact. That's the three foundation of this community, how we grow. You are saying.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you. Now, any other questions? We're beginning to get into towards the wrapping up zone, but if there are any more questions, feel free to raise your hand. If not, it's okay. Yeah. So Davide again. Yeah. All right. So we're just gonna pass the mic across. Now you two know each other, right? Ma sei tutti due italiani, Andrea, Davide. Anyway, okay, two Italians. They're gonna meet each other.
So I would like to know more about the spiritual connection that you have. You're obviously you have a very strong connection and belief. You have a strong connection with spirituality and belief. Is this something that you nurture, or did you get a sign that tells you this is it? Do you believe that spirituality is also a skill? What would you say to me, who is sometimes believing in spirituality and sometimes not?
So, for me, it's not a matter of belief. It's a matter of it's impossible for you not to be spiritual. You have a human body on earth and you're alive. Impossible not to be spiritual. So we tend to think spirituality as only the saintly and pursuing the saintly aspect. Again, I say this often too. Darth Vader was a Jedi master. Darth Vader 100% understood spirit, the Force. He got it on the negative polarity of all of life spectrum. So human life, we're on the spectrum. We're journeying through this. And human life specifically, because we're animated by spirit. This is gonna go, like I was saying before. We're all going to exit. We don't know that day, but we're all gonna exit. And we will continue our journey. All of the experience that has culminated to where you are right now, where you will be at the exit point in time, will determine what happens after you exit. Right? So none of it for me is about belief. It's about developing experience within it. Now, no way am I saying I know all of this. Oh, I'm just saying that I trust my experience and I trust the experience of my. I think everyone should have a teacher, no matter what your age. Everyone should have a teacher, help guide, because everybody has different vantage points. We're all part of. When people say we're all one, yes, it sounds cliche, but it's actual. All of us have an angle of experience that is totally unique. Nobody here is a duplicate of anybody else. No one. No one can be you. Absolutely no one. Right? Only you can be you. Only I can be I. Only Robert can be Robert, so on and so forth. So to go deeper into that question of who am I, right? To go deep into that and allow that to come forth. No edits. That's where the truest learning comes from, and that's where belief begins to dissipate. Doubt dissipates. And then whether life is high or low, then you're riding with it.
Thank you for that. Do you think music helps you to achieve this sort of state?
Yes.
All right. You see, Davide, what happens? We're gonna one last question now. The hands go up. Max.
So, Kamau, you have probably seen a lot over the last 20 years on this island. So my question is, what the fuck is going on energetically on this island? Like I read a lot. I heard that it's an overly feminine place and that it has clarity and insanity at the same time, and both of each other are like, kind of dressing like playing peekaboo, right? Like, is it insanity? Is it clarity? You don't know. So based on what you've seen, what is happening here in terms of energetical frequencies, and what kind of learnings does this island provide, and why does it provide learnings? Why is it such an energetical place?
And just before you go on to that, I just want to say that SpeakuP Monday does not condone the use of language of our guests, be they in the audience or otherwise. Thank you very much indeed. We won't be on YouTube. Thank you very much.
So sorry.
You know
You
what?
can beep it.
You know what? I'm sure we are, but I just like just to pull you up just because I could. You know.
Yeah. So Earth has a variety of different energy power points, right? And no different from our body. We have different parts of our body where energy condenses. And Bali is a portal of condensation for energy. The rituals that are consistently being done, we got Galungan, Kuningan coming up, right? These rituals that are consistently being done allow the veil to be a bit thin, not as dense. When we all have a thought, all of our thoughts have reality in the unseen realm. Niskala is Balinese Niskala. They come into manifestation through our processes. And because the veil is thin and all of the rituals being done, it amplifies this energy, which allows our thoughts and the nature of what vibration we're carrying to be shown to us very quickly in the field. So we had COVID a few years ago, right, which created a certain beauty for a brief second. No one was here. And the island returned to a state of equilibrium. You can go to the beach and it was only locals on it, right? You were the odd man out if you were there at that time. And then, due to the nature of what took place during that time period, which was a bittersweet moment because, yeah, that was beauty, but there was no economy circulating here, which put a lot of people in situations. So, once the opening happens, there was the pullback of, then it was the release, and all of a sudden everybody flooded in. But what flooded in wasn't the same type of energy as previous. What flooded in was post-influencer. It was, I'm looking for a new lifestyle. It was, oh, wow, it costs that much to live there? I'm going type of energy, which changed the dynamics of this situation. Now, again, the principle of balance of light and dark. That's part of the learning and growth processes. No pillow ride in any of this. Can't get to the greatest aspects of who you are without going to the darkest aspects of who you are. Bali 100% knows this. Ceremonies that are being done, they're not all entertainment, like the real ones. I'm not talking about Ketchak. Ketchak is entertainment. I'm talking about those deep ceremonies where you're sitting for 2 nights, all night ceremonies. Those things are tapping into things that are not comfortable, but cause transformation to take place. And so we have this juxtaposition, and I'll conclude with this. We have this juxtaposition of so much external energy that has flooded this, which has a lot of power because they're bringing a certain financial energy into it, which is necessary for basic sustenance, right? Simultaneously, you have a natural energetics that is native to the land. And thus you have this conflict, which is creating a certain tension, which at a certain point has to be released. How it's going to be released, that remains to be seen, and it's up to everybody in here. So
Powerful. Thank you.
Great question, Brother Max. So as we begin to wrap up, a few things I'm going to do, right? So one is that everyone, in your sum up, feel free to let people know if they want to join that crowdfunding campaign, what they should do, right? So add that into it, please, as well. And so as I begin to wrap up myself, I want to thank Guzman, my brother, and Hadis from Tropical Nomad. This is episode 471. A lot of these episodes, we've got the last 297, which are in the can. In other words, they're filmed, because before that, the other couple of hundred episodes, they weren't filmed all the time. So thank you very much indeed, my brother. All right. Thank you to the audience. So as you know, every week, the best way is to come in person because it's not only our illustrious guest, but it's the people in the audience. As I say each week, right? That's where the gold is for a lot of people who are here. And so by doing that little exercise in the beginning, kind of getting to know each other a little bit, you get enough about a person from their energy and what they say to know if you need to speak to them or not. And if you do, you will. If you don't, you won't. That's okay, right? So it's really powerful. And I think now it's 4 people that I can name off the top of my head that have built their teams of, working teams through just coming and finding people in the audience, right? Also some of, romantic relationships, won't talk about those, but yes, too, as well, but no guarantees. Or I get in trouble otherwise. But it's a way amazing thing to come. So if you're on the list, over here is a QR code that you can join, one-way bulletin that happens twice a week, one way only. Then the episode that pulls you is the one you come to. If it doesn't pull you, watch it online. Okay. If it pulls you, make sure you come in person because there's someone you're supposed to meet, right? And then the question for you, my brother, is twofold. So one is, based upon this, we understand, right, that we're spiritual beings having a human existence, not the other way around. And we also understand that everything that has happened is perfect for us to arrive in this moment. So the question for you is to put that aside, right? Put it aside. When you look back, and it's whichever one comes to your mind first, or the one that just, that one, where you look back and say, hey, I had the keys to the city, right? Meaning Godfather of HipHop. I mean, amazing things came out of it. And a lot of your students, I realize now, I know them pretty well. And now I know who they were referring to. That's a story for another day. So when you look back and seeing the power of music, as Davide mentioned, culture, sharing, accepting, knowledge sharing, right? The power that it has become from your students, which many years later have become who they've become as a result of running into you, right? When you look back, is there any moment you say, you know what? I wish, knowing what I know now, I did that in a different way, because I realize now, had I done that in a different way, the energy would have led even more towards this direction. So that's the question for you to mull over, and remember to talk about Tuluvi. And the final part for me, you have about a minute to think about it. As I mentioned before, come in person, no membership required, no RSVP. My name is Robert Ian Bonnick, and we do a bunch of things. One, Speak Up Monday initiative, because talking is one part of the story. You've got to take action. So action-wise, the one I'll talk about today is called Tabanan Community, which is a community we set up in Tabanan, 300 plus local government, stakeholders, landowners. We're talking foundations, charities. We're talking events. We're talking businesses, right? So the idea is that Indonesians and foreigners can come together to knowledge share and to create, to acclimate, to cross-collaborate and create incredible projects that have a great impact on people. People, God, environment. Not in that order. God, environment, people, right? So if you want to join that, feel free to reach out to me, but it's only about Tabanan. It's not about Canggu, it's not about anything else. So if that's something that interests you, please reach out. The other thing I want to explain is that, so what we do, as I mentioned before, is quite important, that we help companies, businesses, people who really want to make that step, who have something powerful to contribute to Bali and beyond. We help you from the time your business is set up. We help you grow and find your niche in the community through 360, whether it's feasibility, marketing, knowing the right people, having the right connections, the right understanding of the cultural landscape in which you sit, to ensure you have a result that is going to be a kind of result that benefits all parties. That's what we do. So if you're interested to find out more, also get in touch. Robert Ian Bonnick, Speak Up Monday, you'll find me. Okay, so Brother Kamau, I want to give you one of these, and Sister Nana as well. Thank you so much, brother, for saying yes. Yes,
Thank
indeed.
you.
We're not finished yet, but yes.
Thank y'all.
Right? Now, what you don't know is that last week, when I saw this beautiful man, Anana, when again, you sit down sometimes and things happen and you wonder why you didn't think about it before, is one. Number two, when you think you know someone, you ask a question like tonight, and a whole thing comes out. I was like, I knew none of that. It makes me smile. Last week, I said to Kamau, and he's been on the show before a while ago. I said, you know what? You're going to be on the show again. And he goes, yeah, okay, you let me know when. I said, it's going to be sooner than you think. And he looked at me, because he's a brother, he's my brother. He smiled at me and said, thank you. But he didn't know what I knew. I knew it was going to be next week because I just knew, right? So the next day I said, listen, Kamau, so you're on this Monday. So this show came together really fast. But my brother, that's how things are supposed to be, is how they're supposed to be. My brother, loved you always, my man. You're a stand-up human being, and I love what you stand for. And it's always love to have you here sharing what you do with the world. So my brother, please continue to do you.
Reflections,
right.
man. You continue doing you, and I'll continue doing me. Thank you, because that was and real. Like I had I came here because we have this crowdfunding campaign, and the last week's speaker was talking about crowdfunding. He was a specialist, and I was like, all right, I got to come and check this out because I'm new to this. You know, there's a whole lot that I don't know about this thing, but I came. And yeah, I had no idea, but it's a testament to the purity of your heart because you said, okay, I have a platform, and you honored that appreciation by saying, here, I offer the platform. So thank you for that. Testament to what he's doing, right? Thank you, Robert. So, so the question of what moment would I say I would do that differently? Knowing that, okay, everything's perfect, but put it to the side. That's the question. When I was working with Aerial Crew, the crew of breakers that I was working with directly, I would have taught them deeper aspects of spiritual arts, the meditation that which I knew about, but I wasn't fully pushing into them when I had the ear and the respect to go in that direction. So while it was there, they knew about it, and it was coming out in the art of dance and music and such. The aspect of, as you're learning how to move, you also have to learn how to be still. I didn't emphasize that. And so I would have done that. Because I was in my journey too. And this was all new. And journeys go in cycles and waves, right? And I was in a wave where it was I was giving them more of what I didn't receive because I had my crews back home, but we didn't have any elders guiding us. So we fell apart. It was a big reason why I stayed and didn't go back. I was doing good. I wasn't running. I was doing good in the States, but Spirit was like, and posted me here. And I tried to go a couple times and was like, nope, you stay right here. Oh, you got a flight? You're supposed to leave here? Ha ha, volcano blows. You ain't going nowhere. Like, literally like that. So I'm stationed here. So as pillar. So I would have done that part. Tuluvi Art House is representative of all of this. To be able to work with youth, those who have not, bringing together youth who have and who have not. Right, myself, my wife, we've done a lot of work in orphanages, especially around the time when I was with the Bibo. I'd bring them to come and do workshops in orphanages. I was doing work in the prison over in Canggu. I was doing a lot of stuff in the youth prison. All those boys in there who were in there for bullshit reasons. I was going in there teaching them. We want to have and cultivate a space that allows the union of these to learn. We want to encourage and invite the community that we stay in, Kadewatan up in Ubud, to begin to learn about organic cooking and farming, because there's nothing healthy in this village over here, right? We have connections with a good friend of ours, Mare Masak, who should be on. We should get her on this show, Mare Masak. She'd be dope to speak to. She's a Balinese. She does food foresting. Everything is from the forest. everything is foraging and picking and learning how to cook with those items. So we want to, and we've already been collaborating with her. She's done workshops at her house, but we want to more officialize this so she can teach more people within the village about this art of utilizing the nature in order to cook healthy. We envision more intercultural connections. And when I say intercultural, I mean, okay, if you take someone who is rooted in Balinese ceremony and dance and ritual, and you bring someone, say, from West Africa who's Yoruba, practices Ifa, and say, okay, y'all sit in a room, what would you create? Because the future is collaborative. What is it's already? It was like what comes single. They're going to plant easily aspect house dedicated already doing it and making it work and other doing work. People who
Tuluvi Art House.
Can I mention one more thing?
Yes.
Because she's gonna hit me over the head if I don't. I do have a course, so I teach. I've been teaching for a long time, and I just finished my website and then on the website I have a training program, which is Tuluvi Arts Training, which goes in deep into the principles of what we've been talking about, but more in depth, in a step-by-step training process to open up your creative spirit essence, to understand about your energy work, understand about your soul connection, where you're from, what energies you're bringing in this lifetime. You're not wondering like, oh, what am I? No, here's your blueprint right here. You will see it playing out in all the situations in your life, and you have a compass to. So I have a training course that is dedicated to that awakening and opening. I had to say that, and it's on this little card. It's over there by the QR code. You can check it out.
In this card, round of applause, everybody. This time, thank you.
And thank.